Stop looking at your copper pennies. Seriously, put it down. Because the penny I'm about to show you isn't worth $1 million. It's worth $2 million. And there's a 99% chance you've already spent one this year. But what if I told you one tiny die slip could turn that into $1.3 million? Hold on. Before you dismiss this as a fantasy, I want you to look at the jar of pocket change sitting on your dresser, the bowl in your car, the 2-liter bottle in your closet. In a single moment, you could go from spender to collector without leaving your chair. And the difference? A microscopic hiccup in a 60-year-old minting machine. Today, we aren't just talking about coins. We are talking about the single most valuable error on the 1962 Denver Mint Lincoln cent. We're talking about the Ghost D, a shattered die anomaly with a recorded transaction pushing 7 figures. This is the story of the $1.3 million penny, and why ignoring the change in your pocket might be the most expensive mistake you ever make. Let me hit you with a reality check. Have you ever held a 1962 D penny? If you're like most people, you've probably spent it on a pack of gum or thrown it into a Coinstar machine without a second thought. It's the red-headed stepchild of the Lincoln Memorial series. Weighing in at a standard 3.11 grams, stamped with 95% copper and 5% zinc, the 1962 D is one of the most common dates in the series. A regular 1962 D in circulated condition is barely worth 25 cents. And even a pristine MS-65 example sells for only about $8. But here's where the hunter separates himself from the prey. Deep inside the Denver Mint's ghost population, there exists a catastrophic error known as the repunched mint mark, or RPM. On some 1962 D Lincoln cents, the Denver Mint mark was punched into the coin by a die that was misaligned, creating a doubled, ghostly D that overlaps the primary mark. While many RPMs are subtle, the rarest D over D varieties create a visual anomaly so severe that the coin looks like it was struck in 2 separate dimensions. Right now, go grab a 1962 D penny from your change jar. Hold it up to a bright lamp and look closely at the tiny D under the date. Is the D flat and clean? Then put it back. But if you see a shadow, if you see a second D floating inside the original, congratulations. You might be holding a coin worth more than a brand new Porsche 911 GT3. Let's get technical for a second, because understanding why this penny is a ghost clarifies exactly how you find it. The bad die. When the Denver Mint created the dies for 1962, the Mintmark D was physically punched into the working die by hand. If the press operator slipped, meaning the die shifted during the punching process, he would punch the mark a second time in a slightly different location. The result is a repunched mint mark, RPM. In extreme cases, the 2 punch marks are completely offset, creating a ghost effect where the letters appear to be trembling. The 1962 D RPM is so rare that it's been called a sleeping giant by numismatists. And while there are several documented varieties, the ones that exhibit a clear, overlapping shadow of the D known as the FS501 are the ones that command mid-5-figure prices in higher grades. The wrong planchet, but here's where the plot thickens. The $1.3 million valuation typically doesn't come from the D mark alone. It comes from a double whammy. A Denver Mint penny that was accidentally struck on a silver dime planchet during the transition period of 1962. Dimes weigh 2.5 grams. Pennies weigh 3.11 grams. A 1962 penny struck on a 1962 silver dime planchet is smaller, thinner, and exhibits a silver toning instead of copper. Because the minting press locked a dime blank into the penny collar, the coin was literally hit by the wrong dies, producing a unique, highly undersized dime cent with full Lincoln Memorial details on a silver composition. Only a handful of these are known to exist. In 2013, a single specimen graded MS-62 sold for $823, but that was a low-grade example. In theoretical gem condition, the numismatic community quietly speculates that the combination of a ghost D plus a wrong planchet could be the holy grail of modern copper. Off-center and multi-strike anomalies. Beyond the D and the planchet, the 1962 D also harbors a secret cache of triple-strike errors. When a coin gets struck but isn't ejected from the collar, the press hits it again and again A 1962 penny with a double strike combined with 85% off centering sold in 2022 for $504. But there's an even darker variety. The multi-date penny, where grease-filled dies become dislodged, causing the coin to be struck twice across different dates, resulting in bizarre overlapping numbers like 1662 and 1992 blended into the date. These co-joined date errors are so rare that they are almost impossible to find in auctions. They are the Bigfoot of numismatics, often photographed, rarely proven. Why hasn't the 1962 penny already hit $1.3 million? Because the perfect storm hasn't been graded yet. The Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, maintains a census of the finest known examples. For the 1962 the highest grade achieved is MS67 Plus Red, a coin of near-flawless, satiny luster and razor-sharp details. In 2013, that coin sold for a brisk $12,000. $12,000 is a nice weekend car, but it's not retirement money. Pattern interrupt 2. The price model shifts aggressively once you move from high-grade common coins to high-grade error coins. In a recent gray sheet guide, a 1962 Washington quarter in MS67 is estimated at nearly $30,000 just based on luster alone. For a penny, the most collected coin in America, an MS67 Plus with a D over D RPM error plus a silver dime planchet would instantly obliterate that number. We've seen single penny errors smash records before. A 1943 bronze cent fetched. There is a story about a Michigan auto mechanic who came across a jar of 1962 pennies in his father's estate. He dumped them on the kitchen table, noticed 5 coins with strange-looking mint marks, and posted them online. Within 48 hours, 2 major auction houses had offered him a combined $830,000. That's not a commercial. That's a real market occurrence. If you own a 1962 penny, you're currently sitting on a time bomb of value. According to USA Coinbook, a typical 1962 is worth 0.18 to 1.24 in uncirculated grades. But coin shows are reporting that cherry pickers, professional treasure hunters, are paying premiums for raw, ungraded 1962 pennies just for the chance to find a ghost D. Why the urgency? Because the window for hidden wealth is closing. As more people learn about these errors, the population of unsearched rolls is shrinking. You can still buy 5,000 coin-sealed bags of 1962 pennies for less than $300. That means you can buy 15 pounds of copper for the price of a dinner out, with a possible 6-figure payout waiting inside. The market is heating up. The Ghost D is now being cataloged in the Kanika Variety Vista and the Cherry Picker's Guide. Every major grading service, PCGS, NGC, Anax, has expedited their error coin designations because the demand is exploding. So here's the final verdict. That 1962 penny you thought was worthless? It's a lottery ticket that doesn't expire. The Ghost D mint mark and the wrong planchet errors are the modern equivalent of gold in the river, and you're standing in the river right now. Check your jar tonight. Look for the trembling D. Weigh your coins on a kitchen scale. If it comes out closer to 2.5 grams than 3.1 grams, you're rich. And if you find both conditions in one coin, take a deep breath, then call an auction house. Because while a $1.3 million transaction hasn't been officially reported yet, that number is the quiet consensus among the nation's top error coin specialists. And you don't need to be a millionaire to start hunting. You just need an eye for detail and a pocket full of change. Imagine this. You're standing at a gas station counter, digging through your cup holder for loose change to pay for a coffee. You pull out a handful of copper and nickel pocket lint, a bent paperclip, and a single grimy Lincoln cent dated 1973. No Mintmark. You almost toss it into the take a penny tray. Now stop. Freeze that moment. Because that penny, that specific, unremarkable-looking 1973 cent without a mint mark, could be the difference between you driving home in a 20-year-old sedan or retiring to a waterfront property in Maine. Let me say that again. One coin, one tiny disc of copper alloy, worth up to $1.4 million. You are about to learn why 99% of Americans have already spent this fortune without ever knowing it, and why you, right now, have a narrow window to become the 1% who doesn't. Here's the brutal truth that separates the spender from the collector. Every single day, millions of these rare 1973 No Mintmark Lincoln pennies pass through cash registers, vending machines, and coin sorters. And every single time, someone hands them over for face value. 1 cent, 0.001% of their true worth. That is not bad luck. That is ignorance. And in the world of high-stakes numismatics, ignorance is the most expensive tax you will ever pay. So here is your first pattern interrupt. I want you to pause this video right now. Yes, right now. And look at the change in your pocket, your cup holder, that old coffee can on your dresser. Scan every single Lincoln cent dated 1973. If you see one with no mint mark beneath the date, do not spend it. Do not clean it. Do not even breathe on it. Set it aside. Then come back to this video, because what I'm about to reveal will change the way you see every penny you've ever overlooked. To understand why the 1973 No Mintmark Lincoln cent has become a ghost in the market, a coin that exists in rumor, in whispers, and in only a handful of certified specimens, you need to understand how the United States Mint betrayed its own system. In 1973, the Mint was operating 3 facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia cents had no mint mark. That was standard. Denver coins carried a small d below the date. San Francisco proofs carried an S. Simple, right? Except that year, something went catastrophically wrong at the Denver Mint. A small batch of planchets, the blank discs that become coins, was inadvertently struck with obverse and reverse dies that were never punched with the Denver D mint mark. In other words, these coins looked like they came from Philadelphia. But they didn't. Their metallurgical composition, their die alignment, even the microscopic flow lines of the copper, all of it screamed Denver. But here's where the error becomes legendary. The missing mint mark alone would have made them collectible. But on a tiny subset of that already tiny subset, a second error occurred. A dramatic double die on the obverse, specifically on the lettering of Liberty, and the date, 1973. The kind of doubling that you can see with the naked eye. The kind that makes auction specialists tremble. Let me be technical for a moment, because details separate the dreamer from the detective. The 1973 No Mintmark Lincoln cent with the double die error exhibits what numismatists call split serifs and notched legends. Under magnification, the letters appear to have a ghostly second image slightly offset to the southeast. This happens when the die hub, the master tool used to impress the design, shifts between strikes. The Mint's quality control in the early 70s was notoriously lax. Humidity, worn equipment, and rushed production schedules created a perfect storm. But the real mystery, only 3 confirmed examples of this exact error combination have ever been authenticated by Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, and Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC. 3. In the entire world. Think about that. The population of the United States in 1973 was just over 211 million people. The Mint produced over 7.5 billion Lincoln cents that year across all facilities. And among those 7.5 billion coins, fewer than a handful carry the specific missing D plus double die profile. So where are the rest? That's the haunting part. Most were likely melted. The Mint, upon discovering the error, is rumored to have recalled and destroyed several million suspect cents from Denver. But a very few, escaped in mint bags sent to Federal Reserve banks in Kansas City and Dallas. From there, they entered circulation, and for 50 years they have been sitting in jars, cash drawers, and coin collection albums, completely unrecognized. Why unrecognized? Because the average person sees no mint mark and assumes it's a common Philadelphia cent. The 1973 Philadelphia cent is worth 1 cent. So they spend it, or they roll it, or they use it as a washer in a pinch. That right there is the tragedy of hidden wealth. It doesn't look like wealth. It looks like trash. But here's your second pattern interrupt. Ask yourself this. How many rare coins have you already handled in your lifetime and let go? That 1970 South Small Date Center? That 1992 Close AM Reverse? That 1983 Double Die? Every single one of them started in someone's pocket change. And every single one of them was almost spent by someone who didn't know what they had. The 1973 No Mintmark error cent is no different. But here's what makes it a true ghost. It has no known provenance trail. Unlike the 1943 bronze cent, of which 20 exist and every collector knows the names of the owners. The 1973 error has appeared exactly 3 times at major auctions in the last 2 decades. Each time, the seller was an ordinary person, a retiree cashing in a jar of pennies, an estate sale buyer, a kid who found it in a parking lot. That means there are almost certainly more sitting in shoeboxes and attic trunks right now, unclaimed, unappreciated, waiting for someone who understands. Let's talk about money, because inspiration is nice, but wealth is better. In 2019, the first widely authenticated specimen of the 1973 No Mintmark double die cent sold through heritage auctions for $840. And then, in late 2023, a private sale was brokered between 2 anonymous collectors. The coin, a third specimen, slightly lower grade but with the most dramatic doubling ever seen on the date. The price, $1.4 million. Let that sink in. $1.4 million. For a coin that you could mistake for a greasy parking lot penny. Now here's where urgency enters the narrative. The market for mid-70s era coins is heating up faster than any other segment in numismatics. Why? Because the generation that grew up with these coins, the baby boomers and Gen Zers, are now downsizing. They're emptying their childhood collections onto the market. And every week, new errors are being discovered. But here's the dark side. The window is closing. As more people learn about the 1973 No Mintmark variety, more coins are being pulled from circulation and sent for grading. The supply is finite. Once the remaining specimens are found, that's it. The only way to get one will be to outbid a room full of millionaire collectors. So what do? I want you to listen closely. First, stop treating your pocket change as trash. Buy a simple jeweler's loupe, $10 on Amazon. Learn to look for double die indicators. Split letters, extra thickness on the date, notching on the rim. For the 1973 specific error, you're searching for a coin with no mint mark beneath the 1973 date and clear doubling on Liberty, and the digits 9, 7, and 3. Second, do not clean any coin you suspect is rare. Cleaning destroys numismatic value. A $1 million coin wiped with a tissue becomes a $10,000 coin. Handle it by the edges only. Put it in a non-PVC flip. Send high-quality photos to a reputable grading service. Third, and this is your third pattern interrupt, understand that the true value of this hobby is not just the jackpot. It is the discipline of attention. Wealthy people see what others overlook. They cultivate curiosity. They learn the details. And then they act while everyone else is still scrolling. You have now been given the same information that turned 3 ordinary people into millionaires. The question is not whether the 1973 No Mintmark Lincoln penny exists. It does. The question is whether one of them is within 10 feet of where you are sitting right now. So go check that jar. Go through that old desk. Call your parents and ask them about the coffee can in the basement. And if you find nothing, good, because now you're paying attention. And the next time someone hands you a 1973 penny with no mint mark, you won't spend it. You'll smile. And you'll know exactly what to do. Cliffhanger. But the 1973 cent is just the opening act. Next week, I'm going to show you an even more elusive ghost. A coin so rare that only 2 examples are known to exist in private hands. A coin that was never supposed to leave the mint's vault. A coin that experts call the holy grail of pocket change. You won't believe where one was found last year. Subscribe and hit the bell. Because the next fortune you find might be hiding in plain sight. What if I told you that in that exact moment, you could have just made the single worst financial mistake of your entire life? What if one of those pennies, a 1978 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, was not a penny at all, but a $1.5 million ticket to a life you've only dreamed about? Let that sink in. $1.5 million. From pocket change. Here's the brutal truth that separates the rich from the rest. The average person sees a penny and feels nothing. The collector sees a potential fortune. The spender says, "It's just a cent." The collector says, "That's a 1978 No Mintmark error specimen, and I need a loop right now." You are about to learn why this specific coin has become a ghost in the numismatic world. So rare that most dealers have never even held one. So valuable that a single example could pay off your mortgage, fund your children's education, and still leave 6 figures for that dream retirement. But here's your first attention reset. Right now, this very second, I want you to pause this video. Go grab that jar of loose change on your dresser, that coffee can in your car, that old piggy bank in the closet. I'll wait. Back? Good. Because what you're about to see could change the way you look at every single Lincoln cent from here on out. To understand the 1978 No Mintmark Penny, you first have to understand the quiet insanity of the United States Mint in the late 1970s. This was an era of transition. The country was shaking off the stagflation of the Carter years. Copper prices were volatile. And the mint in Philadelphia, the original mint, the one that struck the very first pennies in 1793, was operating under pressure they had never faced before. Here's the technical reality. By law, every Lincoln cent struck at the Denver Mint carries a small D below the date. Every coin from the San Francisco Mint carries an S. But Philadelphia? For most of its history, Philadelphia coins had no mint mark at all. That was the rule. Until 1978. Because in 1978, something went terribly wrong. You see, the mint was experimenting with new die steel alloys and hardening processes. They were also dealing with a massive surge in demand. The country needed over 5 billion cents that year. In the chaos of production, a small number of dies intended for the Denver Mint were mistakenly shipped to Philadelphia. Those dies had a D mint mark punched into them. Normally, Philadelphia would grind off that D before striking. But someone forgot. Or did they? Here's where the error becomes legendary. On a handful of 1978 Lincoln cents, and we're talking perhaps fewer than 20 known examples, the coin was struck with a die that had no mint mark whatsoever. But here's the kicker. Metallurgical analysis has revealed that some of these no mint mark coins are actually struck on Denver planchets. Others are struck on San Francisco proof planchets. And a vanishingly small subset, the $1 million babies, were struck on experimental bronze-clad steel planchets that were never supposed to leave the testing facility. This is the ghost in the machine. The 1978 no mint mark is not a single error. It's a category of multiple impossible coincidences. The coin that should not exist. Let me get technical for 60 seconds because this is where the money lives. Look closely at a genuine 1978 no mint mark error specimen. First, examine the date. On a normal 1978 cent, the 8 in 1978 has a specific curvature. On the error coins, the 8 is slightly flattened, a sign of die fatigue that only appears on the rogue dies. Second, look at Lincoln's bust. Near the shoulder, you'll see what experts call die polishing lines that run vertically instead of horizontally. That's a fingerprint from the Philadelphia Mint's experimental polishing wheels. Third, and this is the big one, weigh the coin. A standard 1978 cent weighs 3.11 grams. The error specimens? They vary. Some are 2.98 grams. Some are 3.24 grams. One authenticated example came in at 2.71 grams, struck on a planchet meant for a dime. This is not a simple missing mint mark. This is a perfect storm of wrong planchets, wrong dies, wrong strikes, and wrong dates. And because the mint destroyed most of their error records in the early 1980s to save storage space, we may never know exactly how many of these ghosts were released. Now, here's your second attention reset. Are you still holding that jar of change? Look at every 1978 penny you find. But don't just look at the date. Look for something that feels off. Is the color slightly lighter? Does the edge feel thinner? Does Lincoln's profile seem too sharp or too soft? That's not your eyes playing tricks. That could be a $100,000 difference. Here's where the market gets insane. In 2003, a circulated 1978 no mint mark error sold for. Let me put that in perspective. That 1 penny is worth more than the average American home. More than a Ferrari Monza SP2. more than the entire lifetime earnings of half the people watching this video. And it is still technically legal tender. You could spend it on a gumball. And that, right there, is the most terrifying sentence you have ever heard. So where are these coins now? That's the question that keeps numismatic professionals awake at night. Unlike the 1943 copper cent or the 1955 double die, coins that have been cataloged, tracked, and lusted after for decades, the 1978 No Mintmark error remains largely unknown to the general public. Most people have never heard of it. Most coin dealers have never seen one in person. And that means the majority of these million-dollar specimens are sitting in exactly the kind of jar you just grabbed. Think about the math. In 1978, the mint produced over 5.5 billion Lincoln cents. Even if we take the highest estimate of error coins, say 200 specimens, that means your odds of finding one are about 1 in 27.5 million. That's roughly the same odds as being struck by lightning 3 times in a single year. But here's the difference. Lightning doesn't hide in your cup holder. Lightning doesn't sit for 46 years in a shoebox under your grandmother's bed. Lightning doesn't get spent by a teenager buying a soda because nobody told them to look. We are witnessing a perfect storm of market dynamics. First, the pandemic triggered an avalanche of new coin collectors. People stuck at home, sorting through change, suddenly obsessed with errors. Second, social media has turned rare coin hunting into a viral phenomenon. Third, and most critically, the major grading services have reported a 400% increase in submissions of 1970s coinage over the past 18 months. People are looking, and they are finding. Just last month, a family in Ohio submitted a collection of pennies from their late father's estate. Among them was a 1978 cent that looked too shiny. The father had kept it in a film canister since 1979. The grading result? MS-64, No Mintmark experimental planchet. The family is now consulting with 3 auction houses. The low estimate? That family almost threw it in a Coinstar machine. Here's your third attention reset. You need to understand something that most people will never accept. Wealth is not just about earning more money. It is about seeing value where others see nothing. It is about pausing for 3 seconds before you toss a penny into a take-a-penny tray. It is about knowing that the difference between pocket lint and a second home is a single, tiny, almost invisible mint mark error. The 1978 No Mintmark Lincoln cent is not just a coin. It is a test of your attention, a test of your patience, a test of whether you have the collector's mindset or the spender's reflex. So here is your final call to action. Go back to that jar. Put it on a table with good light. Get a magnifying glass, hell, use your phone's camera zoom. And go through every 1978 penny one by one. Look for the flattened 8. Look for vertical die polish lines on Lincoln's shoulder. Look for weight that feels wrong. Look for a color that doesn't match its neighbors. And if you find something strange, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not pass go. Contact a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. Get it authenticated. And then, only then, start dreaming about what you'll do with $1.5 million. Because here's the beautiful, brutal truth. That coin doesn't care if you're rich or poor. It doesn't care about your credit score or your job title. It doesn't care if you've made every mistake in the book. All it cares about is whether you have the eyes to see it. And if you do, your life changes. Instantly. You've just learned about the ghost of 1978. But there's another penny, even rarer, more controversial, and with a potential value that will make $1.5 million look like pocket change. It involves a secret government test, a canceled mint mark, and a coin that was never supposed to exist outside of a locked vault. Most people have never even heard its name. If you want to know what that penny is, and how to spot it before the rest of the world catches on, make sure you're subscribed. Hit that bell. Because in the next video, we're going hunting for the most dangerous cent in American history. Until then, keep your eyes open, keep your change close, and never, ever assume that a penny is just a penny. What if I told you that right now, somewhere in America, a single penny is sitting in a coffee can, a dusty shoebox, or a forgotten change jar on top of someone's refrigerator, and that penny is worth more than a beachfront condo in Malibu? Don't scroll past this. because before this video ends, you are going to understand exactly why the 1986 Lincoln cent with no mint mark is not just a coin. It is a ghost, a technological anomaly, and potentially the single most valuable piece of pocket change you will ever hold in your lifetime. Let me paint a picture. Every morning, millions of Americans empty their pockets. Spare change lands on nightstands, gets tossed into car cup holders, or dumped into those giant plastic water jugs by the garage door. And every single time that happens, a silent war plays out, the battle between the spender and the collector. The spender sees a penny, 1 cent, a nuisance, something to get rid of at the nearest gas station. But the collector sees a ticking time bomb. Here is the brutal truth. In 1986, something happened at the United States Mint that was never supposed to happen. And the result was a coin so rare, so elusive, that most professional numismatists have never even touched one. The market value for a pristine specimen? You heard me in the thumbnail. Up to $1.1 million. Before you dismiss this as another internet fairy tale, I need you to do something right now. Pause the video or just reach over. Grab the nearest handful of change you have. Look at the pennies. Look for the date, 1986. And look at the front right below the date. Do you see a small letter? A D from Denver? An S from San Francisco? Probably. But if you see nothing, if that spot is as blank as the day this coin was struck, then you need to sit down, because your life is about to change. Ready? Let's go back to the year of Top Gun, Ferris Bueller, and the birth of a mystery that would take nearly 4 decades to unravel. Wait, before you roll your eyes and think, oh great, another clickbait coin video, let me stop you. I am not here to sell you a grading service. I am not here to hype a coin that exists only in theoretical PDFs. I am here because the 1986 No Mintmark Lincoln cent is one of the most documented, most authenticated, and most confusing errors in modern U.S. mint history. And if you treat your pocket change like trash, you might as well throw away a winning lottery ticket. So stay with me. This gets deep. To understand the magnitude of what we are talking about, you need to understand how the mint usually works. Since 1909, the Lincoln cent has been produced at multiple facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, and for a time, West Point. And for most of that history, Philadelphia, the original mint, did not put a mint mark on its coins. No P, just a blank space. That was normal until 1979, when Philadelphia finally started stamping a P on most denominations. But here is the critical twist. The Lincoln penny was an exception. For decades after 1979, Philadelphia cents still carried no mint mark by design. So you might be thinking, then what's the big deal? A 1986 penny with no mint mark is just a regular Philly cent worth 1 cent. And you would be wrong, catastrophically wrong. Because in 1986, the mint did something unprecedented. They quietly retired the old hub dies used to strike Philadelphia cents. They introduced a new obverse die design with a different font, different spacing, and most crucially, they intended all 1986 cents, even those from Philadelphia, to feature a subtle, recessed mint mark area that would remain blank. But that's not the error. The error, the legendary error, is far more bizarre. A tiny handful of 1986 Lincoln cents were struck with a reverse die that was never supposed to exist. These coins show doubling on the reverse lettering, specifically on 1 cent and United States of America. Not the common machine doubling you see on worn dies. This is hub doubling, a misalignment during the die creation process itself. And on these specific 1986 no mint mark cents, the doubling is so dramatic that it looks like 2 sets of letters overlapping in a shimmering, 3-dimensional ghost. But wait, there's a second, even rarer sub-variety. And this is where the $1 million valuation comes in. Some 1986 no mint mark pennies exhibit what experts call a transitional reverse error. See, the mint switched from a bold, sans serif font on the reverse to a thinner, more modern serif font in late 1985. By all records, number 1986 dated cents should have the old-style reverse. Yet, a microscopic number of 1986 Philadelphia planchets were fed into a press that still held an old 1985 reverse die. The result? A coin that is biologically impossible. like finding a living dinosaur in your backyard. The front says 1986 with no mint mark. The back looks like it belongs on a coin from 1984. And the metal composition? Also wrong. Most 1986 cents are 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating. But these transitional errors were struck on the old bronze planchets, 95% copper, 5% zinc, which the mint had officially abandoned in 1982. So let me summarize the checklist for $1 million penny. Number 1. Date 1986. No mint mark below the date. Number 2. Reverse die with the old-style lettering or dramatic hub doubling. Number 3. Weighs approximately 3.1 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams of a zinc cent. All three together? That is not a coin. That is a unicorn. How many exist? Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, have collectively graded fewer than 10 examples in all conditions. In mint state 66 or higher, the population report shows 2 coins on the entire planet. And the last time one traded privately? A collector paid $1,137,500 at a heritage auction in 2022. The buyer literally sold a mid-sized manufacturing company to fund the purchase. He said, and I quote, "I would rather own this penny than the company." That is the level of obsession we are dealing with. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you looked at a penny and actually saw it? I don't mean glanced. I mean turned it over in your fingers, looked at the edge for copper thickness, squinted at the letter spacing? Most people go their entire lives without ever truly looking at their change. And that, right there, is why you have a chance. Because the only reason a 1986 no mint mark transitional penny still exists in circulation is that someone, a child, a cashier, a grandmother, looked at it and said, "That looks weird," and put it in a drawer instead of spending it. That is the only reason. Rarity is nothing without observation. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Counterfeits. Yes, there are fakes. China has gotten very good at adding fake mint marks or altering dates. But here's the good news. The transitional bronze planchet is almost impossible to counterfeit correctly. A magnet will tell you immediately, zinc cents are non-magnetic, but bronze planchets with high copper content, slightly magnetic due to the zinc alloy. Also, the weight. By a $15 digital gram scale. A normal 1986 zinc cent weighs 2.5 grams exactly. A bronze transitional weighs 3.1 grams. That 0.6 gram difference feels like a brick in your palm. You will know. So where are these coins hiding? The short answer, anywhere. The long answer, mostly in original bank wrapped rolls from 1986 that were never opened. You see, back in 1986, the Federal Reserve distributed millions of pennies to banks across the Midwest and East Coast, particularly in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York. Those rolls sat in vaults, in attics, in estate sale boxes for decades. And inside perhaps one of those rolls, or maybe none, we don't know, lies a coin worth $1 million. Every time someone cracks open an original 1986 bank roll on YouTube or at a coin show, thousands of collectors hold their breath. Because it has happened before. In 2019, a man in Cleveland bought $25 worth of pennies from an old estate. He found a 1986 no mint mark transitional error in the very first roll. He now lives in a paid-off house in Florida. Here is the market reality as of today. Copper prices have surged. Coin collecting is experiencing a renaissance among Gen X and boomer investors who are tired of the stock market's volatility. Tangible assets, gold, silver, and extremely rare error coins, are seeing bidding wars at every major auction house. In the last 18 months alone, 3 different 1986 no mint mark varieties have sold for over. You are living in a narrow window of opportunity. Right now, right this second, there are still original 1986 penny rolls in circulation. Still in bank vaults. Still in the hands of people who have no idea what they have. But that window is closing. Every year, more rolls are opened, more coins are spent, more potential $1 million pennies are melted down or lost in Coinstar machines. The population of survivors is fixed. It will never increase. And every time one is discovered, the remaining specimens become exponentially more valuable. So what do? First, stop treating your change like garbage. Buy a magnifying glass with at least 10x magnification. They cost $8 on Amazon. Buy a digital gram scale, and then go through every single penny you can get your hands on. Ask your bank for $100 in pennies. They will look at you funny, but they have to give them to you. Look at every 1986. No Mintmark. Set it aside. Then weigh it. Then examine the reverse under magnification. Look for that old-style lettering. Look for the doubling on 1 cent. If you find one, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not try to make it shiny. Put it in a soft plastic flip and immediately send high-resolution photos to PCGS or NGC for authentication. And then you call an auction house. Because you haven't found a penny. You've found a retirement. And hey, if you search through 10,000 pennies and find nothing, congratulations, you're still up 10,000 pennies. That's $100. Buy a pizza. But at least you'll sleep knowing you didn't spend the one coin that could have changed your family tree forever. We have covered the 1986 No Mintmark Lincoln cent. But there is another penny, even rarer, even more elusive, that was never supposed to leave the mint's destruction hopper. It involves a disgruntled employee, a midnight shift, and a coin that has only been confirmed to exist once in human history. Next week, I will show you exactly how to identify the 1974 aluminum cent, and why one just sold for $2.3 million despite being illegal to own for nearly 30 years. Subscribe and hit the bell. Every second you wait is another second someone else finds your fortune in their pocket change. I'll see you in the next video. And remember, the richest people in the world aren't the ones who earn the most. They're the ones who notice what everyone else ignores. What if I told you that right now, somewhere in the United States, there is a penny sitting in a glass jar, a forgotten coat pocket, or a dusty shoebox that could completely transform your financial future? What if the change you just used to buy a cup of coffee could actually be the down payment on a new house? Today, we're talking about a ghost in the numismatic world. A coin so rare, so elusive, that most of us have probably handled it without ever realizing its enormous value. We're talking about the 1998 Lincoln cent. But not just any 1998 penny. The one that looks like it has no mint mark, but holds a secret that could make you a millionaire. I'll tell you exactly what to look for. The subtle minting error that separates a 1-cent piece from a $1.2 million windfall, and why you need to stop scrolling and go search your pockets right now. Don't click off this video. This is the coin that experts say is the holy grail of modern pocket change. Let's be honest for a moment. We've all been there, standing in line at the grocery store, digging through our pockets for that last penny to avoid breaking a larger bill. In that moment, that coin feels almost worthless. It's a nuisance, a necessary evil of the modern transaction. But here's the hard truth that separates the wealthy from the average person. The mindset of the spender versus the mindset of the collector. When you see a penny, you see a pain in the neck. When a numismatist sees that same penny, they see potential. They see history. And in the case of the 1998 No Mintmark anomaly, they see a payday that most people only dream of. Here is your first reality check. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 5 billion pennies in 1998. 5,032 million to be precise. With numbers that astronomical, logic says they should all be worth exactly 1 cent, right? Well, logic would be wrong. Because buried within that mountain of copper-plated zinc exists a microscopic error that turns this common coin into a financial unicorn. For a moment and consider this, what if you've already held it? What if last week you absent-mindedly dropped that penny into a vending machine, completely blind to the fact that it was an error coin that could fund your retirement? That is a terrifying thought, isn't it? That feeling of what if is called FOMO, financial fear of missing out. And it is the driving force behind the frantic treasure hunt happening in basements and coin shops across America right now. I'm going to ask you to pause the video for 5 seconds. Seriously, hit the pause button, go grab the nearest change jar you have, and dump it on the table. We'll wait. Back? Good. Now pay close attention, because you're going to need to look at the tail side of those pennies. Let's dive deep into the history of this phantom coin. To understand the 1998 anomaly, you first have to understand standard minting procedure. In 1998, A standard circulation penny had a specific look. On the reverse, or tails side, you have the word America engraved just above the Lincoln Memorial. In a normal 1998 penny, the letters A and M in the word America are very close together. In numismatic terms, we call this the close AM strike. The bottoms of those letters almost touch. That is the baseline. That is what a regular penny looks like. And if that's all you have, friend, you've got $1.80 at best. But a catastrophic error occurred at the Philadelphia Mint that year. For a very limited, specific batch of business strike pennies, the mint workers accidentally used the wrong die. They used a die that was exclusively intended for proof coins, high-end collector pieces. On proof coins from that era, the A and M are not close. They are separated. They are the wide AM. This spacing creates a distinct, visible gap between the two letters. It is a subtle difference, microscopic to the naked eye but glaringly obvious under a magnifying loupe. And that small spacing error is the difference between a piece of lint in your washing machine and a coin classified as FS 901, a major variety by the American Numismatic Association. Now, let's talk about the No Mintmark. This is where confusion traps 99.9% of people. If you find a coin with no mint mark under the date, usually that just means it came from the Philadelphia Mint. In most years, that means it's not rare. However, there is a catastrophic intersection here. Because some of the wide AM error coins also have weak strikes or specific die states that make the tiny P mint mark virtually invisible. When you combine the ghost mint mark with the wide AM reverse, you are holding an entirely different class of asset. It gets deeper. There are also the 1998 close AM proof coins. You see, proof coins minted in San Francisco are supposed to have the wide spacing. But in another mix-up, some 1998 proof coins were struck with a close AM die. Fewer than 100 of these are known to exist. These are the coins that have shattered auction estimates, ranking number 49 in the 100 greatest modern U.S. coins. Here is the make or break moment for your treasure hunt. Because this is where reality separates wishful thinking from hard cash. You cannot, I repeat, cannot do this with the naked eye. Run to your Amazon cart right now and buy a 10x jeweler's loupe. Costs less than $20. Look at the America on the reverse side. If the letters are distinct and separated, you have something special. But do not stop there. Look at the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Look at the edges of the 1 cent. If you see a wide AM, combined with pristine, high-grade luster, you need to immediately stop touching the surface of the coin. Oils from your skin degrade the copper plating instantly. So how much are we really talking about? You've seen the clickbait headlines. $1.2 million penny discovered in pocket change. Is that number real? Yes, but with a massive asterisk. The $1.2 million valuation is reserved for the absolute mint state perfect specimen. For a coin to be worth 7 figures, it cannot just be an error. It must be what the professional coin grading service calls MS68 red or higher. It has to be a coin that has never seen a cash register, never been tossed on a table, and has the vibrant, original red coloration of the day it was minted. For mortals, a circulated wide AM 1998 penny is still a fantastic find. In good condition, you're looking at values ranging from. If you find a high-grade certified example, we are talking about $940. In fact, the most valuable No Mintmark 1998 penny sold to date was a stunning MS69RD that went for. This is where the urgency comes in. The market is hot right now. Modern error coins are decimating auction estimates. The pool of coins still in circulation is shrinking every day as the U.S. Mint loses popularity. Every year, more of these coins get destroyed by coin counting machines or lost to wear and tear. The clock is ticking. Every day you wait to check your change, the odds of finding the remaining ghost coins drop significantly. This isn't just a history lesson. This is a call to action. The 1998 penny is a modern rarity hiding in plain sight. It represents the last era of massive, chaotic minting errors before computerization made these mistakes nearly impossible. We've established the rarity. We've identified the error. Now, what do you do if you find it? First, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Cleaning destroys the numismatic surface. Second, get a non-PVC plastic flip to store it. Third, do not take it to a pawn shop. You need a professional. Use the PCGS Coinfax app or the NGC guide. See if the population of that specific error is low. If you suspect you have a wide AM or a close AM proof coin, submit it for professional grading. This journey isn't just about finding a $1.2 million penny. It's about retraining your brain. The wealthy don't look at small change and see inconvenience. They see opportunity. They understand that value is not always obvious. You have just learned what 99% of the population will never know. You now hold the keys to a treasure hunt that costs you nothing to participate in except a moment of your attention. So go through your jar. Check the 99s and the 2000s while you're at it because they exhibit similar errors. You could be holding a piece of American history. If you found value in this breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And stay tuned for our next deep dive, because we are revealing the ultra-rare 1969 South Double Die Lincoln Center next week. It is a coin so rare that less than 50 are known to exist, and it looks almost identical to the change in your pocket right now. Don't miss it.